Welcome to the Love and Life After Divorce podcast. We are so happy to have you here today. I'm Tiphany Kane, your host of Love and Life, and I am with the absolutely divine and amazing Ginger Fatale. Ginger is a burlesque performer, a burlesque teacher, and owner of a company. She's an entrepreneur, Soul on Fire Dance, and I think she has her hands in about 5 other businesses as well, because that's how she rolls. And even on top of that, Ginger is a giant proponent of loving yourself, loving your body. She has, I would say, curated an amazing collection of human beings around her that are in all shapes and sizes and sexual orientations and colors and everything. And she just has created a community that is welcoming and inclusive and joyful and sexy. And I am absolutely thrilled to have her with us on the podcast today. So, Ginger.
Hi.
I met you for my 45th birthday. I don't know if you remember that, but it was my 45th birthday. I actually met you slightly before my 45th birthday because I watched you perform.
That's right, because you came to one. Okay, yeah.
Came to one of your performances and totally fangirled over you.
Thanks.
And decided I wanted my 45th birthday to be a burlesque dance lesson for my friends and I, because for me, it was the year of stepping out of my comfort zone and trying new things. And so you kicked that off for me.
I was going to say burlesque is usually one of those very new things for people, right?
Yes. So I would love to hear about you. How did you get into this burlesque world and create this really unique community around yourself?
Well, I actually fell into it I was in college, and there aren't a whole lot of opportunities for adult dancers who have stepped out of regular dance world into adult things. And so my friend convinced me to go to a pole studio, and I was like, yeah, sure. I'll try it. That sounds like fun. And then this was back in the days of MySpace, and they posted, do you remember those bulletins that were on the side of the thing? And they're like, hey, we're holding burlesque auditions. I was like, what is that? Sure, I'll try it. I get to perform again, and I'm not auditioning for other things. That sounds great. So I went there and we did the thing, and I ended up on the troupe, and I was performing that for, I guess I've been doing that 15 years now. Oh gosh, that's a long time. That makes me feel okay. Anyway. Yeah, so that's kind of how I fell into that. And then with the pandemic and all of these things that kind of shifted and changed, and I learned some people that I was around weren't the people that I kind of hoped that they would be. And so Soul on Fire was born earlier this year. So this is 2021, right? And so, there were just a bunch of people who kind of needed that self-acceptance and needed that community of having a safe space where we could be authentically ourselves. And we had kind of already bonded in a family sense. And so we just needed a different space for that to grow into.
I think what really strikes me about that is you experienced a situation that a lot of people experience in the sense of not being accepted for who you are. In your case, I don't know if you want to expand on it at all, how comfortable you are expanding on it. But the things that were not accepted about you, you picked up the pieces and used your kind of anger and frustration and hurt to say, I'm going to create something beautiful out of this. I am going to create a community that reflects who I am. And I think that's really powerful.
Thanks. And I also, part of it was, I was still in that, right? I was still in the hurt. I was still in the fear and anger and frustration and all of that. And all of these people kind of just said, so what are you going to do now? I'm like, I'm going to sit here in a pit and I'm going to wallow and I'm going to cry. What do you mean, what am I going to do? They're like, so, but what are we doing? Like, what do you mean, what are we doing? Like, what am I doing? And it just kind of ended up growing organically into something. And so, but now that I'm here, like, kind of taken off like a freight train. I'm just going to run with it.
That's exciting.
It's
really
exciting
what you're doing.
Thank you.
So I'm lucky enough to take class with you pretty much on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
I know. It's pretty exciting. It's pretty much my favorite day of the week. I can be having a day where I'm feeling big and bloated and fat and stressed and frustrated and whatever, and go to Ginger's class and leave there just feeling like snap, snap, snap. I'm the bomb. And I just love it. It's just amazing. I never leave your class feeling frustrated or put down or what have you. It's just, it's always leaving feeling more expansive than when I came in.
I'm so glad to hear that.
It's so great. So I would love to hear what burlesque has done for you as far as loving your body.
Oof. Where do I even start with that? So, well, all right. Since we're talking about loving your body, like after divorce and things, right? Like, okay, so we'll get into that story. So I got married really young. I got married at 18, and I was with a man who just was not a good human. I got poked and prodded at about all sorts of things, like come up behind and grab my love handles or grab my, like all, you know, I'm like, okay. Like, so I was never fit enough. I was never skinny enough. I was never pretty enough. I was never any of those things. And at 18, like, it's probably just going to go downhill from there. So, I ended up finding the burlesque troupe right about the time that he went on deployment because he was in the Marines. And I spent a lot of time with people of all different sizes and ages and, you know, walks of life. And we just fell into the community that was there, you know, to start with. And it was all about hyping each other up. And it was all about feeling sexy on stage and just really commanding an audience and how they could celebrate you regardless of what you looked like, right? Because there is something for everybody, right? So just seeing that not everybody was going to put me down and all of that. So when he came back from deployment, it was hard. It kind of went back into that kind of stretch, and it was hard to get on stage. It was hard to do all of these things. And I remember there was one of the dancers' husbands also came like to shows and stuff, and he saw him, and my ex was just like head on the table, like not interested in my performance at all. And he went up to me, he was like, dude, like you're gonna lose that hot thing that's up on stage, like. And oddly enough, that night my current partner was at the bar, and because my ex was just not responsive, this new gentleman decided he wanted to buy me a drink. And so I was like, we really don't have to buy me a drink. I drink for free. Like I'm dancing here, but okay, if you really want to. So he bought me this lovely drink. And as he came back to me, he got bumped and he spilled the drink all over me. So I was covered in
kind of a classic move.
Yeah.
I believe I've seen that in a couple movies.
Yeah. So, you know, so burlesque dancer covered in liquor. Like, I was like, this is great. And so, you know, eventually the ex and I divorced and ended up with the new one. But even through all of that, like, it's been a struggle to maintain my positive body image, like through fluctuations of everything, through the trauma of having somebody tell me day in and day out that I wasn't enough, and just being surrounded by people who are there to be supportive of one another is something that's just so powerful and so healing, like in itself. And I feel like that's kind of what we get in class, right?
Yes.
Like that is why during class I'm like, okay, you sit your butt down in front and you catcall your friends as they go, because it gives you a sense of something that like you're not going to get. Like, it's not the creepy kind of like walking down the street in some random.
Right. It's fangirl and fanboy. We got some pretty brave men out there that come. We fan people.
We fan people.
We fan people. Yes. We have a lot of fun with that. I have to say, I think one of my favorite things about burlesque is that it takes the person who's watching you on a journey with you of you loving your body and having fun with it. And it's like a playful sexuality. It's like, hey, here I am, and I am having the best time, and come with me and have some fun with me because this is great. It feels less about performing for the audience and more about I'm having fun with myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that. I think that's my favorite part of it.
I love that perspective of it, because not everybody can see that sometimes. It's kind of like, oh, sexy person dancing on stage, like whatever. And it's like, no, it's so much more than that. Like, you want to draw somebody in, you want them to come with you. So
yeah. Well, and there's often a sense of humor in the dances, or there's storytelling. You've done some fun characters that are not typically seen as sexy that, man, you have made so fun to watch. So I love how sexy has so many facets within the burlesque world. I just think it's so fun.
Yeah. Well, because everybody's version of sexy isn't the same. Right? Like, what makes you feel good doesn't always make another person feel good, doesn't make me feel good, right? It's all about finding what feels good for you. And I feel like a good community should be able to kind of like draw that out.
Yeah. I once watched a burlesque performance on YouTube where she basically ate a pizza the entire time. She ate an entire pizza on stage. And
I'm here for that.
It was so fantastic. And it was, like a breakup scene or what have you. And she finds this box of pizza and proceeds to eat the whole pizza and, undresses while eating the pizza because she gets grease on her gloves and then she gets grease on her dress. And she's like, oh, well, goodbye. And it was so funny because it was also so real. Like, we've all been there.
Oh,
right?
For sure.
We've all been there, whether it is the container of ice cream or it's the entire pizza to yourself or the box of cookies or the bottle of wine.
Or sometimes all of those things in one sitting.
And to have her look sexy while doing it, I'm like, oh, you go, girl. That was so fun.
Right? Get it.
So one of the amazing things you've done is creating this super supportive, super inclusive community. Like you said, you're fan people. And we definitely see that in the troupe you've created with the performers, but also with all of your students. And you have a lot of students. And like, we're all big fans of each other. We're all friends on Facebook with each other or in Instagram, and we cheer each other on and we all think each other's fabulous. So why is it so important to create a community like that after loss? Because divorce is a loss.
Oh, of course it is.
So why is it so important to create a community like that?
Oh, like, let me name the ways. Like, well, like, you need people around you, right? Like, divorce is a big one. And also like loss of friendship, loss of any of those, and all of those, like in a partner, like if you lost your spouse, but you also lost a friend, you lost maybe like so much more, part of an income, like you lose all of these things, right? And a support system and someone who's there all the time. So you need to rebuild connections. You need to see that your impact on someone else is still important, that it still has value, and that you can connect with someone else, right? And seeing other people who are maybe not going through the same thing as you, right? Like we have people of all genders, of all sexualities, of all colors, all sorts of things, and we can all still find a way to connect. And I think that that's really important just because it teaches us that we're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
We're not alone. And everybody is going through something.
Mm-hmm.
And just we can all support each other and get through whatever that thing is.
And it's also the expansiveness of the connection of we can be really different and really have so many areas to connect still.
Yeah.
And those differences can just be so gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a really fun part of it too.
Yeah.
So many times we hang out with the same people, that have the same, whether it's the same political views, the same hairstyles, drink the same drinks,
this little clique.
Yeah. And when you're able to expand that out and be with people that are quite different than you, maybe quite different than your norm, and you really get to see the beauty in that, it completely expands your universe.
It totally does, right? Like
Yeah.
and I love seeing that. Like it's not your typical sense of whatever. Like you get to see so many different things, and it opens your eyes to the different ways. And I think my favorite part has always been like watching people from different everything watch each other dance and be like, I really like the way they do that. Like it expands your sense of what is beautiful and what is sexy and what is empowering. And you're like, oh, it doesn't have to fit in this like little box, right?
Yes.
Like it can be something else, and it opens you up to explore something different for yourself.
Yes. I come from the ballet world. One of my point shoes hanging up over there.
Yeah, it's like I saw those. And also fair, because I feel that.
So, and in that world, it's so beautiful, and I still love it so much. But there's like one way to do ballet.
Yeah.
And when you think of the renegades in the ballet world, like they're still in this very, like you have to be perfect in ballet. And it takes my breath away, and I'm not saying, I mean, it is an insane art form that I fully love. But I think one of the things that is spectacular about burlesque is when you teach a routine, the people that are performing may have, well, if there's 6 people performing, there's going to be 6 interpretations of that routine. And it's really fantastic. It's going to be this person, shimmies that way, and this person jakes that way, and this person does a hip roll like this, and this person does a cool little flourish of the head, thinking Coco.
Yeah.
It's just this person does that with their hands, and it's just everybody's kind of got their flourish and their style. And like you said, you watch and you're like, oh, I like that. Oh, I want to try that. Oh, and it's really freeing. It's really freeing.
Yeah.
Because it goes out in the wider world of, I can put my own flair on whatever this is that we're doing in life.
Yeah. We want you to be you.
Yeah.
Right? Because honestly, nobody else can be you better than you can. So you might as well show the world what you got.
That's right.
Okay.
I love it. All right. So, for our listeners who may start thinking, well, maybe I want to try a burlesque class out.
You should totally try.
What are some tips that you can give about that, stepping out of your comfort zone and touching, but
touching yourself. I mean,
getting in touch with, that sensual side of you that a lot of times as moms and working and paying the bills and all of that comes after a divorce, you kind of lose that.
Yeah, I was going to say there are so many things about life that change that just aren't the sexy, right?
Right.
There's so many things. I would say just do it. Just step out, find a class that's near you, find an online class, follow someone on Instagram that does little tutorials, and try it in your kitchen. Like, go into your bathroom, throw on a pair of headphones, put on a song that makes you feel sexy, and just like grind your hips on something. Like, But like it starts small, right? Like if you're not ready to like go out in public, then like do it at home, right? Like, like I teach on Zoom. You can totally come take class and nobody will see you in your living room. But like seriously, there are also reasons like burlesque dancers have stage names, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes maybe it's more comfortable to be like, hey, I'm so-and-so. Like, I know I signed up as that, like, but don't look at that. Like, call me this. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, sometimes a slight disconnect from where you are kind of helps you merge them eventually, right? Like, I had a really hard time being like my real person and like my stage person in the beginning. It was really hard to reconcile because there is a lot of like shame with being sexy.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So kind of like navigating that and trying to still be a good person, whatever that means. That does an air quotes for people who are just listening. But, like in order to accept all facets of yourself, like sometimes you kind of got to break them apart before you can integrate them again because you have to accept the different pieces. And maybe it doesn't fit there just yet. Maybe you need it needs some time.
I really like what you just said. That was really like, yeah, break them apart to fit them back together again. I like that because a lot of times people describe themselves after divorce as broken or we've got a broken family. And that has always made me feel like, oh, no, you're not broken and your family's not broken. It's just different now. It's different.
Yeah.
But maybe there's some beauty in a little bit of breakage.
Yeah.
Because you get to put it back together.
Yeah.
In a different way.
That reminds me of something that is like kind of tangential, but I want to use it anyway. Okay.
Go.
So I'm half Japanese. And so if, in the culture, if something like a piece of pottery breaks, you fuse it back together with gold.
Mm.
And so you see all the cracks, right? But they're beautiful and they're sparkly.
Yes.
And yeah, it's broken. Is it, quote, perfect like it used to be? No. Does that mean it's any less beautiful? Absolutely not. So yeah, like we break, right? We break after divorce. We break after a loss of a relationship, even if, like it doesn't have to be divorce either. It can be a loss of a long-term relationship, like with your partner, right? Not everybody gets married, but like those things are just as painful. So putting that back together, like your pieces, they fit back together. I promise they fit back together. But sometimes we need a different kind of glue. We need a different kind of mend. And so all of those things can happen. And sometimes you stick it back together with glitter. Yeah.
I have tears in my eyes. We can borrow the glitter from Coco.
Yes. Hey, half the time he was borrowing it from me. So,
Oh, okay.
He didn't always like the color I had, but whatever.
For listeners, one of our favorite performers that's in Ginger's troupe is Coco Knockout, and he is so fun. And so if you ever get to watch any of Ginger's performances that her troupe Soul and Fire Dance does, he'll be one of your favorites.
Absolutely.
Would you like to have more personalized support in rebuilding your best life after divorce? Would you like the benefits of coaching and having a community of like-minded women supporting and empowering you? I would love to have you as a member of my Love and Life After Divorce membership group. In the Love and Life membership group, you will have monthly live group coaching calls with me, a monthly book club, accountability sisters, support sessions, empowerment activities, goal-setting challenges, and so much fun. Click on the link in the show notes to join. All right, so now we get to the fun part.
Okay.
All right. So, do you have any books right now that you're really enjoying, you're really inspired by?
I actually just finished Dare to Lead by Brené Brown.
I love Brené Brown. Wow.
It was so good. I figured like as a leader, right? As an entrepreneur, as the founder of my own troupe, I have a co-founder. My co-founder is Valentine Lamore. Lovely, lovely, beautiful, gorgeous, in everything human being.
Yes.
Love. And between the two of us, we need skills, right? So I read that and it just changed the way that I view a lot of this. Like having tough conversations, we are so centered on having transparency and honesty and community. And that is hard.
Yeah.
Like that's hard to be open with other people, right?
It
Especially
is.
after you've been through things like a divorce, like a loss of a friendship, like a loss of a community. Like being open and vulnerable is difficult. So
Well, I would imagine your dance community you were part of before for 15 years, that's almost like another divorce. That's a loss. That's
Yep.
that must, so you're reliving all of that again.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a lot of the same stuff, like there are things being said about me. There are things, and so, and it's always you'll never be enough. You'll never make it. You can't do it. And it's just it's a broken record. And, yeah, it definitely brought up a lot of stuff.
Yeah. But you're smashing that record in
Yeah,
little
well.
pieces because you're killing it. You're killing it.
That one is not getting forged back together. That one can stay broken.
No gold. It's going to be like
I'm going to grind that up and light it on fire.
All right. So here's the hard question for a dancer because music is a big part of your life. But if you got to choose 3 songs for a movie being written about you, 3 songs for the soundtrack, what would they be?
Okay. I have a clarifying question.
Sure.
Is this like over my entire life movie or is it like recently movie?
You know what? You get to choose that because this is about your life. So what would you want?
Okay. All right. So when I was an angsty teenager, I'm still kind of angsty. I don't know if angsty is the right word, but anyway, I grew up on Linkin Park.
Oh yeah.
Linkin Park saved me, like legitimately saved me when I was younger. So Somewhere I Belong by Linkin Park would have to be like in that, would it be in like the first part of the movie? And then, going the completely opposite direction as I started to be dancing and like finding myself through all of this and seeing how healing it could be, not only for like myself as a kid, but like older and things. Better When I'm Dancing by Meghan Trainor.
Yeah. I love it. Yes.
From
absolutely.
the Peanuts movie. Like,
From the Peanuts movie.
And if anybody ever looks at my aesthetic, like if you ever look at my Instagram, you're going to be like, she listens to Meghan Trainor. Yes, I do. Okay. I love her.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And okay, and then going back to my aesthetic, I found this song legitimately earlier this week, and I've been listening to it on replay. It's called "I Am the Fireball" by Hailstorm.
Oh, I have to look that one up. I don't know that
So
one.
good. I actually taught to it on Wednesday. I was like, I need this in my life all the time. But it like talks about like pushing down your fears. Like, am I enough for this? And just being like, no, I've been what I'm been waiting for. Like, I have a fire inside of me and I'm going to stoke it and we're just going to burn brighter.
That is so perfect for you with Soul on Fire Dance.
Right. And I was like, all the things are met with fire. Not sad about it, but also like it just kind of, the universe just keeps throwing it at me. And I was like, okay, I guess that's where I am.
You're a phoenix rising from the ashes.
I must be.
Did you know a redwood seed cannot germinate without fire?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a redwood.
Maybe. All right. So what is the most important thing that you're really happy you took the risk to say yes to?
Soul on Fire.
Yes.
So seriously, Soul on Fire. Like it, when this departure happened and I was kind of dealing with like a divorce, and it brought up all those feelings. I was like, I seriously wanted to be in a pit. And I was like, I just don't want to do anything. Like, I'm done. Like, I'll keep teaching for a while. And then like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I don't want this anymore. And there were enough people that just kind of like kept poking and prodding and being like, hey, this is a thing. And I'm like, okay. So we said yes. And we filed our LLC 5 months ago and we are taking off. So I'm happy that I said yes. It's caused a lot of sleepless nights, but as you know, as your own business starting, like it's worth it, right? Like that's the stuff. If it lights your fire, like just go with it. Right?
Yeah, there's a thing being like joyfully tired because it's like an energizing exhaustion.
Yeah. Right.
Versus that soul weary tired because you feel like your soul is being sucked out of your body because you're doing something that just doesn't align with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said in the beginning, like I literally do have like 5 jobs. Like that's not not actually an exaggeration. No, it's not a joke. But I'm trying to whittle them down to the point where like all of them light my soul on fire in some way. But my baby is definitely the one that gets all the spoons.
I love it.
So,
oh, Ginger, this has been such a pleasure. So how can people find you?
Oh, so many ways. I have all the things. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me personally at Ginger_Fatale. And you can find Soul on Fire Dance at Soul on Fire Dance, but every word has an underscore in between it. And so I'd spell that out, but that would take me way too long.
We'll put the links in the show notes.
Yeah, that's a great idea. SoulOnFireDance.com. We have a show coming up, and I don't know when this is going to episode.
Wait a minute. Is this a live
It is
show?
A live show.
Oh, my God.
But also, I don't know when this episode is airing, so is it going to be before that? I don't know. But anyway, there will be more live shows, even if there isn't, and there will be virtual shows that you can watch replays on SoulOnFireDance.com. So
exciting. I'm so excited. So we'll put everything in the show notes so you guys can find Ginger. Definitely follow her on Instagram. It's a lot of fun to follow. First of all, I mean, the pictures are phenomenal. She's a lot of fun, a lot of energy, and you will really enjoy it.
And you should come take class with Tiphany.
Yes, come join me. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Absolutely. And also, you're fantastic. So that's not like a low bar to hit.
Thank you. Well, everybody, I hope that you have enjoyed today as much as I have. Please look Ginger up on Instagram, DM her, like her, follow her. And please leave a comment and a review at the end of this episode so that we know how you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much, and we will see you soon.